Welcome to Tatanka's living room.
We are so happy that you are here with us tonight. It is such an open-hearted joy for us to have everyone come together. And everyone is doing such wonderful and powerful things in their lives, you know, showing up in a heartfelt way. And we do this to weave our community all together from so many dimensions. We're so connected. We want everyone to meet each other and feel community, feel a part of each other, and support each other with love to take whatever next step that is right for you. How about that?
That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much for helping clean up and for your beautiful, for the beautiful food contributions that you brought for everybody. Thank you so much. And I think Tatanka, you might say something about, if you haven't donated, we do cover this room and that room, and anything extra we get to give to the Romero Institute, and it's we want to be able to do that giving. So please help us if you can. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give you an arc of the evening. This is a 2-hour show. It'll be over at 9 o'clock. We have 8 new people who have never performed at Tatanka's living room. We have an equal number of boomers and then an equal number of youngers, millennials and Xers. I must say that Tatanka's living room has a mind of its own, really. I craft something and everything changes. People die, people fly out. There's a whole bunch of people, 3 different people that had to fly off to deaths in the family this morning who were planning to play tonight. So we have such an abundance of artistic talent in this community. It's a pleasure to host this. So you're gonna hear some amazing stuff tonight. Our theme is love and resistance, weaving generations together. I want to cast a vision. The reason why we give to Romero Institute is they have a vision of what we can do to get back our lives, to restore democracy, to restore the land. And they're very, very effective at it. And you're going to hear from Ben Eichhardt later in the program about what they're doing with Green Power, that is Green New Deal California, and what's happening with Lakota People Law. We're so blessed to have them right here in Santa Cruz. I just want to say that, we all have incarnated for a reason. And my belief is you're not here by accident. And everyone has a personal sacred dream. But when we align our personal sacred dreams with a collective dream, and then we align that with natural law and a cosmic dream, there's really nothing that can stop that, because life is life. We're in a death-bound society, where the little piece of paper that says, this is the corporate charter for the B Corp, for the stockholder corporation, you're all now owners of extractive industries. You pollute, coal miners die in your shift, you despoil the ocean, you go after silicon and gold, and you don't care what happens to people when they die getting it out. Just pretend for a moment, that's who you are. I come to you, this little piece of paper, and I say, you're all forgiven. You're not responsible. The buck doesn't stop with you, the buck stops with me. I'll take the hit. This is this little piece of legal fiction called the corporation. I'll take the hit. This little ghost, okay, where evil lives. I'll take the hit. Oh, by the way, all the money you make off that stuff, I can help you pass it on to your kids forever. Leave that to me, okay? We live in a society where we, the people, allow this to exist, okay? So when I hear the president, any president, now we have one that's quite a character, when he opens his mouth, this is the spirit he's speaking. I'm not responsible for anything, it's them, right? This is what he knows. This is how he was mobbed up as a child. Let's get over being upset with him. He is the spokesperson of a systemic thing embedded in global corporate capitalism that has been there and grown for the last 150 years, that now has the legal status of a person. But it has gazillions of dollars and gazillions of attorney, and when a real person comes up against it, we don't have a chance. We have to get at this, okay? That's a little bit of long-term thinking. It's my living room, I get to cast a vision like that. So, I love bringing people together from different generations. I just want to share something because I don't know if you're like me, I was actually sleeping pretty well for the last couple of years. In the last couple of months, Carol can testify, I mean, somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock, I'm awake. I'm awake for the next 2 hours. And I'm working on, stuff out in the society there, all the scary stuff. But I keep coming back, I keep grounding to Mother Earth, I keep grounding to Father Sky, I keep bringing myself into present time and realize all this duality is an invention to help us get through this dimension that we live in, and that there's something beyond this. I had a vision 22 years ago, in 1997. I was asking Spirit for what's it going to be like in 2020. That seemed a long way off 22 years ago. And what I was shown in the middle of the daylight, just closed my eyes and I was there. I was taken outside of Earth and shown Earth. And it was horrific in the sense that I was feeling the torture and death of the air, the water, the land, all the poisons, okay? At the same time, this voice, of the Creator came down and said this dream that you had out in space of this little wobbling coin that used to wake me up as a kid, and I go, what? It's a little silver gold coin out in the middle of space, wobbling, but never wobbling down. So that is the sacred coin that has been hijacked, kidnapped from civilization 10,000 years ago. That it's coming to its peak. Domination by violence, by greed. The sacred coin has been restored. It has been restored. So when you see all this terror on earth, look a little closer. And I saw, because I was told that this is a new currency of exchange, and for years I was looking, what is it, the euro? I was looking for real currencies of exchange. The currency of exchange is us. The current, the energetic, the truth that there is no separation in all the universe. But we are trained that we are all separate, and we have to find our way together. There is no separation in all the universe. It doesn't take a religion. You can just look at the basis of natural law that gave birth to an inalienable rights. It's based on the fact that all humans have a sixth sense. We can have an experience of what's right and wrong, what's good for the human family and what's not good for the human family. So I want to share that because when I get really down, I go right back to that. That's the truth. It's true that we have to be careful not to get crushed under the falling dinosaurs. But it's also true that we carry a truth in our lives. And when we get together like this and we share our artistic gifts, it awakens that. Okay. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. This is an invocation part. Calling on Great Spirit, we come to you in a good way today. We're so grateful to be on a lonely land, and we bless Anne Marie Sayers, Indian Canyon, We are grateful to be here on this land that was kept for us. We are on native land. I call on the powers to do the 20 count. This is something in my mystery school we did in the sweat lodge. I'm going to call on the East, number 1, the first number. The East, the place of grandfather sun, the place that shines on us every day. I call in the West, grandmother Earth, the holding and transforming energy of grandmother Earth. I call in the South, the place of the plant people, brothers and sisters, that give us life, that give us food, that give us oxygen. The place of trust and innocence, the place of our emotional life, the place of our story. We are trying to create a new story here, Creator, and we ask for your assistance. I call on the powers of the North, the animal world, those amazing receivers, whether they're geese or hawks, whether they're whales or dolphins or ants. Every animal has such a sensitivity, a receptivity to what's going on. We have much to learn from you. Thank you. This is the place of our mind. This is the place of our wisdom. This is the place of our intuitive sense. We ask you in today, all the ancestors of the animals, go to the center of the wheel. We've been to east, west, south, north. I go to the center, our first stop on the 20 count, the place of the eyes and ears of all humans. Go to the southwest, the place of our sacred ancestors, the harmonizing energy of being in touch with our ancestors. That's the southeast, sorry. The southwest, the place of open and closed symbols of the dream. We ask that any closed symbol, any old belief, any old contract, any old relationship, anything that no longer serves us, that was part of our survival, we're willing to let it go. We're willing to invite in an open symbol to replace it. I call on the powers of the Northwest, going clockwise around the circle in the non-cardinal directions, the place of cycles, patterns, sacred law. We're in a new cycle. We're on the actual Juneteenth. We're right in the window of summer solstice. We're in the new moon. These are all cycles of our lives. We call in those cycles, patterns. We're willing to let go of old ones and create new ones. Please help us with that. You're welcome here. I call on the powers of the Northeast, the place of the design and choreography of energy. We get to design and choreograph our own lives, and together we get to design and choreograph our collective lives. What an honor. Go back to the center of the wheel. I call in measure of intellect, that intelligence that just supersedes everything that we actually have access to. Like we have access to our entire Akashic records, our entire soul's journey through all the lifetimes. Now I go to 11. This is the higher vibration of 1. So we're in the East with grandfather sun. And here we call in all the stars in all the multiverses. Go over to where the West, with grandmother Earth, we call in all planets that hold life. All those millions and millions of planets that hold life out there. We go to the South, the place of the sacred plants. Call in the spirit of sacred plants. We know now that if we don't have a plant and we call in the spirit of that plant, we can actually get the healing from the ideation and embodiment of that. Isn't that amazing? We call in the spirit of the North, the sacred animals, the spirit of the sacred animals. We go to the southeast. That was the ancestors' place. We call in the spirits of all our ancestors, all our human ancestors, all our plant, animal, and mineral ancestors. We go to the southwest, the place of the open and closed symbols of the dream. This is the place of the Kachina. This is the place of the karma masters. There are masters among us that have mastered karma, that remember their previous lifetimes and know from the moment they incarnate here what their purpose in being here is. Welcome. You're welcome here tonight. And I call on the Northwest, place of cycles and patterns. That's the place of our Akashic records. We have within us the memory, forgotten, of our entire soul's journey through every single lifetime at our disposal. If we open to it, it can come in, it can slip in unconsciously and help us. We welcome you. Now go to the northeast, the place of design and choreography of energy. That's the place of our higher self, our highest self. We welcome our highest self energy. I'll go back to the center, the place of Kichi Kahuna, Great Spirit, God, Goddess, whatever you call it or don't call it, a source of energy in the universe. So as we sit, I believe we are all in the middle of our own medicine's wheels right now. That is the place of the void. We do not know what's coming. The place between the as above and the so below. The place of catalyzing energy. The place of sacred sexuality. It's a void place. And the sooner we can be comfortable with not knowing, with that free fall that we feel in life around us, the sooner the information of guidance will come, where we know where we're going, and we're going there together. So thank you. We welcome all our ancestors and guide here tonight. We're not doing this alone. Let's have fun. Aho. Okay, now, that's our invocation. Just a couple other things. Make no mistake, this living room does have a mind of its own. A week ago, it had an entirely different design. The design tonight, I can't wait to share. I just want to say apologies to Gina, Renee, and Carmen Mamakawa for my miscommunication, leading to putting them on the program when they were both waiting for confirmation from me. And I thought I'd done it. So we're going to hear them in the fall, okay? Ollie Weller isn't here, is she? No. Okay, Ollie will join us then. Mama Crow had to fly out, actually, to her family early tomorrow morning when she has to, get up at 3 o'clock, so she couldn't be here tonight. Danny, Paul, and Christina, who hope to be here, are still in North Dakota. Okay? They're still working on Pine Ridge, and Ben will probably give you a little update on that. Some amazing things happen. Leno, my good friend Magdalena Rosavila, turns out he's got work and other issues. He promises he'll be here in the fall. He's the one that tells all these risque jokes about me, because I know him a long time. We worked in Farm Workers and Amnesty together. Bella, Unexpected Conflict, is going to perform in September. Moses' son may perform. We'll see. Sun Royale, he's deciding, so he may join us. Kalikata Mbula, who's an incredible artist. I think his stuff is going to be here on the wall someplace in November, December. And he had a ton of stuff up in Loudon Nelson on Juneteenth on Saturday. He just inhaled all this new pain for this new project, so he's pretty ill. Doctor said he can't come. He said he was coming, and he called me up about 4 hours ago, so my doctor said, don't go. I'll come over and keep you in bed. He'll be here in the fall. Oshan Osadola had a family death. He flew out earlier today. He can't be a young person. He can't wait to meet you all in September. So a number of these people are doing music, so we have an incredible program now. The blessing of this is it's going to be a 2-hour program and not a 2-hour, 37-minute program, okay? So hopefully nearly all of you can stay here for 2 hours, because there's an art to this, and it kind of, I think about these things and I ask for help in building the energy all the way through the end and then tailing off. Okay. Please be generous with your donations. It's the best place you could put your money, going to Romero Institute. And I'm going to start off with a song. Somebody give me the time.
7:21.
Okay, good. Right on time. Okay. Got 2 quick drum songs. Those of you who've been here know this one. This came through me about 20 years ago. are here for the first time? Woo. Yeah, welcome. We live but a few moments, give or take 100 spins around the sun. Perfect love is all there is. We breathe together. Two hearts, one drum. Your tree dances in my gentle breeze. Your back warms in my sun. Perfect love is all there is. We breathe together. Two hearts, one drum. This is so far beyond anything I know. This is so. This is where I am. This is where I want to go. This is so. My life turned upside down, sun below, earth above. Doesn't matter now where I go. Where I am is perfect love. We live but a few moments, give or take 100 spins around the sun. Perfect love is all there is. We breathe together. Two hearts, one drum. Your tree dances in my gentle breeze. Your back warms in my sun. Perfect love is all there is. We breathe together. Perfect love is where I am. Perfect love is where I want to go. Perfect love is two hearts. All there is, one drum. This is perfect love. This is so all there is. We breathe, two hearts together, one drum. We breathe, two hearts together, one drum. Two hearts, one drum. Two hearts, one drum. Two hearts, one drum. One drum, one drum, one drum, one drum, one.
Yeah.
All right. One more from me, and then we're going to go over to all the other artists. This is a song that came, 20-some years ago, coming back from a Sundance. I was living in North Idaho, coming back from North Dakota. And written by Guy Lone Eagle, who was one of my teachers, and Snowbird Guards the Children, a young man from New Jersey. I did the music. This is a music song, but I'm not doing the music, I'm just doing it. And I kind of rewrote it with the chorus. On the road to Sundance, driven by prophecy, we are called half-breeds, and sometimes rainbow seeds. Who are we seeking to be? Hey, ho, hey, 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 ho, hey, day, hey, hey, ho, hey, 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 ho, hey, day, hey, hey, ho, hey, 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 ho, hey, day, hey, hey, ho, hey, hey, ho, hey, day, hey. Not yellow, red, black, or white, but we dance on the earth to make things right. The world is at war, trying to find peace. Stars are singing to us, saying beam a tea. That's a mixed blood, we're all mixed blood. Who am I seeking to be? Hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 dance for the birthright to choose your dream. Dance for the freedom of being MT. Through your eyes, the circle can see. The rainbow of lineages has a right to be. Who are we seeking to be? Hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, 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 we danced, weaved, and sang. to the tree to see. Colors combine, creating a rainbow legacy. Revealing great mysteries, trails forever long, all leading back to the one great song. Who are we seeking to be? Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, day, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, day, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, day, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, day, hey. Dance ancestral fires below your feet. Warriors, lovers, magicians, exploring the mystery. Dancing, dreaming, knowing choice is never gone. So dance, rainbow people, and know that you belong. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, day, hey. All right. Rico Baker. Rico here? Okay. If Rico comes in, he's a veteran brother, carries the bell for peace that we rang in Armistice. Ding. This was a military shell that was created into a bell. So now we have the essence of the ringing of peace that the veterans bring us. Well, this is a special night for me for many reasons. But one is that I have two of my three kids here. So if you haven't met them yet, I want them to stand. I'm so happy to have Jacob here, flew in from Tucson. Teaches film at the university. He's an award-winning documentary filmmaker. President Story, he and his wife Lisa, also a film editor working on her film of a small community in Texas about the deaths of migrants. Working 17 hours last Sunday on editing it. Jacob, please stand so some people may seek you out at the end of the program, intro themselves to you. He's waiting over there. Okay. He's the writer of an excellent book on film editing, finding its way into film schools everywhere. My daughter Laura is here with her boyfriend Cesar, drove over from the peninsula. Laura's an amazing singer-songwriter in her own right. There she is. Anybody here see about 4 years ago, I think you sang in the living room. You heard that. She's an amazing songwriter. She heads up the special ed program at Palo Alto High. She's here with her brilliant, compassionate partner, Cesar. Please stand. There may be some people who want to see you after the program. They may have to leave early, but hopefully they'll be able to stay. So it's always great to have family with us. The first person I want to bring up is a dear Medicine Wheel brother whom I met in the living room. And I'll let him say what he's going to say. I just want to say that you may not know it, but the spirit and the basis of the living room is the Medicine Wheel. So we are exploring some developments that are coming out of this living room, even as we talk. Moses, yeah, the floor is yours.
When I sit behind you, support me.
Yeah.
All right. Have you heard the word grill? Anyone knows the word grill? Yeah. Grill. Yes. One person?
G-R-I-L.
Grill. Grill. griot is the terminology for people like me who go from village to village telling stories. And the tradition is that if you tell a story and the story is not accompanied by tears, then your story is a lie. It's the same way if you pray and your prayer is not accompanied by tears, then your prayer doesn't go anywhere. There are people, small people who live in the southern part of Africa on the Kalahari Desert. You've heard the movie, The Gods Might Be what?
Crazy.
The gods might be
Crazy.
Okay. Those people, they tell stories. And one of the things they say is that if you do not have a story of your own, then you don't have life. Where I live, there are two redwood trees, grandfather, grandmother. And wherever I'm going out, whether to facilitate Mandala or to come here, and I walk through the gate, grandmother always said, "Come, yeah, come." Then she will whisper a story into my ears. This morning I was coming with the afternoon with Sana. My son, will you, Sana? So grandmother said, "Come, yeah." He said, "I know you have a story tonight. We've been working and walking about trees, planting trees." But grandma said, "No, tell the story about the people of Kalahari Desert. They have a story about a little animal called praying mantis." And my daughter asked me and said, "Who gives labels to all these beings?" And said, "These are the indigenous people who have names. But a group of people can say, 'Oh, no, that's not, you don't call that. This is a dam. This is a banana. Don't call it the way your mother tongue tells you.'" So we've been indoctrinated. All over the world, we see that, we say, "Oh, that's a tree." And grandma said, "That's not a tree." We don't call it a tree. All right? But the story about the Kalahari people is that the praying mantis, you know praying mantis? How many people really observe praying mantis?
Yeah.
How does the head of a praying mantis look like? Like a pyramid. A pyramid with two eyes. These people believe that the praying mantis is the creator, create from the water. Praying mantis eyes rotate. They don't have to turn their head or their body to see behind. They just rotate. Before I left Hawaii in May, before the volcano, one day a praying mantis flew and landed on my door and stayed there for 3 days. 3 days. But our story, the real story, is always relevant. So what grandmother said to me is that this month is what? It's called what? Pride Month, gender equality, right? Praying mantis is the teacher of gender equality. How does it go? talk about love, compassion, the theme, right? Praying mantis, after union, the woman eats up the man. No, do you really know that? It's the only animal, and also there is a legendary animal in China who consumes himself or herself by swallowing the tail first. When you put your tail in your mouth, what do you make? You make a circle, a zero. So praying mantis, we're saying that the whole month is gender equality, pride, because humans are still confused about who we really are. Who we are. So we see differences, more so than, as the brother was saying, unity. We are all one, but people say, no, you are different. No, you are different. And that indoctrination is based on control basis. There are two words that praying mantis taught me. We talk about indigenous people. And I started looking at the relations between the word indigent. You know, indigent? Who are the people described as indigent? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
It means to be poor.
Or different,
Oh.
mentally, or whatever. Who is an indigent? That's how indigenous people were labeled.
Yes.
Wow.
It's amazing. So, praying mantis, actually the word praying, when you see, if you look at the praying mantis, it's moved very slowly, goes down, goes down. My mother tongue called that animal, you see, it's like boxing, you go like this. So we say, tokom, matoko, tokom, matoko. Can we say that? Tokom, matoko, tokom, matoko, tokom, matoko. So that's why prayer goes up and down. And then the missionary said, oh, he's praying. Oh, look at that little guy praying. So we're going to call it praying mantis. And everybody here they would thought, that's a praying mantis. But these Kalahari people say that it is their totem animal. The whole little people with that and with that movie, they worship praying mantis because of the rotating eyes. He doesn't have to turn his back. He can turn. Just looking at you, looking at what is behind, and this side and this side. But the bottom line of their life is, after that ecstasy, after love making and all that, the woman said, I'm going to eat you up. And if they do, literally do. Gender equality. But my sisters don't live up. Or whatever. But now we don't even have to do this. You know, the male can eat up or whatever. You see? So grandmother, this morning, first he said, oh, we want to plant trees for food, plant trees for shelter, plant trees for clothing. And if you look at the tree, actually gives us all those three things, which are the base, like the brother was saying, that is in that corporate thing, they took it from the trees. The tree can give, or not can. The tree gives us clothing, the tree gives us food, the tree gives us shelter. San Francisco was built by the redwood trees cut from here. So praying mantis has a wonderful lesson for us. When you see that little creature, or you yourself, do a research. Really go praying mantis. And that will transform your life. You don't have to worry about your gender. You don't have to worry about how you look. You don't have to worry about all those indigenous people who are the dangerous people today. And somebody said that because they say that they are the ones who say, don't mine the gold, don't put the pipeline here, because they are stopping the capitalistic agenda. So this evening, the story is about praying mantis. Men, those who relate to themselves as men, should really be very careful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moses. Our next person on stage is Linda Krause. Woo! Now, how many here have heard Linda read here before? Yeah, unbelievable. Usually ask her to read about 8 or 9 minutes, and we're all in stitches, laughing and crying. She's going to read something that's under 3 minutes. I can't wait to hear what the heck it is. What?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Linda.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Most of you have heard a lot about Stanford University. That's kind of where I worked for 23 years. And you know it has a great faculty, great research, great teaching institution. But what you don't hear about is the arrogant administration, which is an anti-labor and very harsh. And as a result, what we did is we built a union there from scratch. We built a militant, democratic union that stood up for justice. And it was the kind of union every union should be. I think women were about 20% of the membership, and in 10 years we had 3 women presidents elected and 2 women chief stewards. And the executive committee was always a majority people of color. So we were very proud of our union. And then as the Stanford became harsher and harsher, we had some new leadership, and the union stopped fighting for people. The office was always closed, we lost cases, they didn't stand up for people who should have been stood up for. And at that point, I ran as president. I'd been active for a decade, and 11 of us all together to rebuild a strong union. Well, we got elected overwhelmingly, but we expected to make our union stronger, and instead we were fighting for our lives to exist. Stanford withdrew union recognition, means they didn't recognize us at all. So this is the story about that, and it's called Dismissed as Ordinary. We were at war. Stanford had withdrawn recognition of our union. The government labor board ruled that Stanford was acting unlawfully, and Stanford said the board was mistaken. That was so like Stanford's arrogant administration. Still, it refused to recognize our union. We heard the Board of Trustees invested $1 million in an anti-union campaign to break or weaken the union. So we in the union had a strategy meeting. The small room was a rainbow of shop stewards, in all about 25, food service workers in their whites, a custodian in green, maintenance in brown, technician crafts, and myself, a laborer, all gathered in a room to wage war with a $10 billion endowed giant, a world-renowned, powerful institution that was hell-bent on taking away our rights. To win those rights in the first place, we had been forced to strike several times, but at this moment, summer was approaching and the students were leaving. This was not a strategic time to go on strike. So how could we fight back now? What was important to the administration that we could use in a fight? What attracted students and faculty and funding to Stanford? What in fact did Stanford value most? We in that room found the answer. Stanford's reputation as a liberal and enlightened institution. That simple fact would guide our strategy. We would wage a war for the hearts and minds of the community, students, faculty, researchers, churches, politicians, and press, those, in short, who propped up the university's lofty reputation. We mapped out our plan on the blackboard. As we left that room, we knew that this was the David and Goliath thing. We had to outthink and out-strategize Stanford's hired gun, an expensive law firm that made its name breaking unions. Ultimately, in that room, it was cooks, plumbers, gardeners, mailroom and delivery people, dismissed as ordinary by the elite, who outthought, outfoxed, and outstrategized the best brains that Stanford's money could buy. Of course, we had right on our side, and that helped. The next stories will talk about some of the battles we had.
So Linda, when does the book come out?
It will.
It will. Great, the sooner the better. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Orr. Where are you, Elizabeth? All right. Carol and I just met Elizabeth recently. Oh my gosh, what a light. Walk yourself up here. She is just an absolute delight. And she read me, or she sent me her 120-page, 1 minute a page film script, and I'm blown away. So I asked her, I know she can't, I wish she could read the whole thing, but she's going to take 5 minutes, so welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Tatanka. It's a great honor to be here among you all. I want to start just by explaining the premise of the play, screenplay that is bilingual, English-Spanish, but I'll just be reading it in English. It's called Echoes of Silence. It's based on a true story about a Scottish Trappist monk who falls in love with a Salvadoran freedom fighter and who learns the strength of family as they confront dangers of being chased by the Salvadoran death squad around Los Angeles. Is that better? Yeah. Sorry, I hope you all could hear that. So, there are two scenes that I'll be reading. One in which two of the main Salvadoran characters engage in some banter. Old Juan is the white-bearded village elder set against leaving El Salvador, and Zanita, his godchild of 4 years old, who is also the heroine of the story, who grows up to become a freedom fighter. My goal in writing this backstory is having the audience fall in love with Zanita and her indomitable spirit. In other words, engaging in a personal connection to make her visible in the invisible world of immigrants in Los Angeles and elsewhere. The second scene involves Brother Paul, the Trappist monk in Scotland. Brother Paul is influenced by a local peace activist, and their sneaky meetings have a way of catching up with them. And this takes place in the 1960s. So there are two parallel stories. Brother Paul in Scotland becoming an activist, and Zanita in El Salvador growing up to become an activist. And the two ultimately meet, fall in love. And even though it sounds a bit dangerous with the death squad after them, it's not an adventure thriller. It's a musical too, with a lot of Victor Hara music and Bob Dylan. Brother Paul, whom I met, inspired me to write this. He has a beautiful voice himself, and he captivated me by telling the story of how he first decided to build a guitar in the monastery, which was verboten, obviously. And his social activist contact sneaked some Bob Dylan tapes in, and he just fell in love with Dylan and other singers like Joan Baez in the 60s. And so he found an old toilet seat, a mahogany toilet seat, in a pile of wood, and carved his first guitar from that seat, and actually has used it around the world in concert, playing in concerts. So he's quite a character, and the film is funny and filled with beautiful Latin music as well as some 60s Dylan music. Okay, so I am presenting first the scene in Santa Tecla Village, El Salvador. It's late afternoon. Old Juan lays on his hammock tied between two spindly trees. He holds his pet rooster, Sylvia, wrapped in his arms. Sanita sneaks under him, giggling. She pops up at eye level and tickles him with a feather. Old Juan whisks it back with his hand and settles down to snooze. Just as he starts snoring, Sanita tickles him again, but Old Juan grabs her as her arms flay and feet kick and tickles her back mercilessly. Sanita, no, enough. I don't think so. Sanita hops up onto the hammock, spinning Old Juan to the ground, who suddenly realizes he's landed on an egg. Sylvia and her hen squawk at him as he swipes his hand on his butt and pulls up the sticky yolk. Sanita, hello. Hello yourself. You laid an egg. See, that's funny. Think so? See. Uh-huh. Tell me a story. Old Juan feigning anger. You do not deserve a story now. Bad girls don't deserve stories. But it's the bad girls that need them the most. Ah, you got me there, says Juan. Old Juan moves over to the tree, sits down against the trunk. Zanita cuddles into his lap. Okay, go. You're very demanding, you know that? See, go. Very well, I'll tell you the story of Blanca Nieves, Snow White. Zanita, it has to have a horse in it. See, there's a horse in it. The prince has a horse, for Christ's sake. All right, then you may start. Thank you. You're welcome. So, Old Juan begins. Once upon a time, there was a poor girl named Blanca Nieves who was lost in the woods. She had been banished by a wicked queen because Blanca was the fairest in the land. Looks don't matter much. shouted Zanita. Oh, for pity's sake, will you shut up? Zanita, go on. She came upon a tiny cottage where the 7 dwarfs lived. Yes, I know. Get on with it. The dwarfs loved her, and the queen got jealous and sent her a poison apple. Blanca took a bite and died. No, she didn't. The prince came along and kissed her. Where's the horse? He rode in on a horse. So the prince kisses Blanca on the lips, but she's got poison on her lips. He will die too. Oh, Old One affectionately swats her. God Almighty, do you want to hear the story or not? Zanita, no, it doesn't make sense. I only care about the horse. Where's the horse? Old Juan shoves her aside and stands up. Zanita, you are a pain in the ass. God help the man who marries you. Old Juan grabs his walking stick and totters away, swinging his stick at Sylvia and other squawking hens. So the horse is a recurring metaphor in the story. It is a precious thing to Zanita, and at one point in time, when she and her mother are leaving the village, Juan presents her with a wooden horse, and it is the one item that she's able to keep throughout her life. So now the parallel story is in Scotland. And this scene takes place in a vegetable garden in the monastery, on the grounds there. And Brother Paul is busy working in the garden, and his new love, Catherine, the activist, shows up. And so this is one of their encounters. Exterior, vegetable garden, monastery day. A myriad of little birds dive and spiral through the lush garden. Brother Paul observes them while he's kneeling down pulling weeds. He smiles. A second later, he sees the sandaled feet of Catherine Newhart before him. Brother Paul doesn't look up, mumbles, Catherine, not now. Albert's eyes are everywhere. Catherine, stifling way to live if you ask me. Brother Paul continues pulling weeds. How did your talk go? Catherine, I tormented the bishop. Brother Paul chuckles. Catherine, he picked his nose and ate the clarity bastard. Brother Paul, oh lass, you are a scunner. Catherine, I know. I have something for you. Opens her purse and hands Brother Paul a tape recording in a small case. Here, enjoy it. Brother Paul grabs the case and hides it under a pile of weeds, just as Brother Alberic sights them. Brother Paul, it's Alberic, go! Catherine straddles over the barbed wire fence and her panties get caught on the barb. Ow! She lifts her skirt up and struggles with the wire. Brother Paul, Mother of Jesus. Catherine, well, what you waiting for? Come help me. Brother Paul, embarrassed and delighted at the same time, lends a hand going up her skirt, but the panties aren't budging. Catherine, God damn it, sees Albert coming closer. Rip him off. With one yank, Brother Paul turns his head, then rips the panties off. Unfortunately, part of the remaining panty blows in the wind on the barbed wire fence. Unperturbed, Catherine rushes by Alberic, who vehemently scolds her. Get out! Women are not allowed here. Catherine ignores him. Fine day, brother, was just leaving. As Catherine struts off, Albert turns to Brother Paul, and Brother Paul signs, "She's a mighty one, tain't she?" Trappist monks sign, they don't speak, so he's signing that. Brother Albert signs back, "Shut up, that's 5 rosaries." And we end the scene on a tight shot of the torn pink panties blowing in the wind. Thank you.
It's a delightful story, and it reminds you of how rewarding it can be to be part of a revolution that means something. Naeem, are you here? I didn't see you. Naeem Farhat. I don't know what happened to Naeem, but he is he's from the Mideast, and he has an artistic vision that is amazing. He's collected paintings from Palestine and Iraq and Iran, and he has a vision of a tent of all these incredible paintings from village and from homeless people all over the world, and having a tent at every major museum in the world, and eventually having a huge tent museum where the whole world comes to see the art of homeless people all over the world in many countries. He lives, in Soquel. So looking forward to you hearing from him soon. Willow Katz. Willow will share a poem I have or some kind of writing. Our local champion of those in mass incarceration.
I'm going to read excerpts from this book by Albert Woodfox, Solitary, Unbroken by 4 decades in solitary confinement, my story of transformation and hope. And he refers to Herman Wallace, who was one of the Angola 3, who was released from prison and died 3 days later of cancer. Herman is with us when we talk about abolishing solitary confinement. People have to see solitary for what it is, morally reprehensible. Solitary confinement is immoral. There are still more than 80,000 men, women, and children in solitary confinement in prisons across the United States, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. That figure does not include county jails, juvenile facilities, or immigration detention centers. Quote, "We have abused the practice of solitary confinement to the point where it has become modern-day torture," end quote. Representative Cedric Richmond said in 2015. Too many prisoners, including the seriously mentally ill and juveniles, are locked away for 23 hours a day, often with little to no due process and at steep cost to the taxpayer. Instead of being reserved for the worst of the worst, solitary confinement is too often overused for administrative reasons to avoid providing treatment for the mentally ill and rehabilitation for those who will return to society. In May 2018, King and I spoke at the University of California, Santa Cruz at a conference on the psychological and physical effects of solitary confinement. Craig Haney, the psychologist who had met with us several times in preparation for our civil trial, brought together the world's experts in the field to develop principles that would limit the use of solitary confinement based on the scientific evidence that shows the devastating physical and mental effects of isolation and loneliness. There was strong support at the conference for the United Nations Nelson Mandela rules, which would prohibit solitary confinement for juveniles, pregnant women, the mentally ill, the elderly, and the physically infirm, and limit solitary confinement to no more than 15 continuous days for anyone else. King and I asked those assembled to go one step further, calling for an absolute ban on solitary confinement for everyone. Albert goes on, my brother Michael read the statement I gave him. On good days, I am allowed at most an hour of exercise in a cage outside. I do not have the words to convey the years of mental, emotional, and physical torture I have endured. I ask that for a moment you imagine yourself standing at the edge of nothingness, looking at emptiness. The pain and suffering this isolation causes goes beyond mere description. If there's a moral to my story, it's that salvation comes with the will to be a better human being. I have been asked many times what I would change about my life. My answer is always the same, not one thing. All I went through made me the man I am today. I had to be a better person, a wiser person, a more disciplined person to survive. I paid a heavy price. Herman and King did too. In his autobiography, From the Bottom of the Heap, King wrote, "My soul still cries from all I witnessed and endured. It mourns continuously. The agony and pain from all we saw and experienced will never leave us. It will always be part of us." To those of you who are just entering the world of social struggle, welcome. To those of you who have spent years struggling for human rights and social justice, don't give up. Look at me and see how the strength and determination of the human spirit defy all evil. For 44 years, I defied the state of Louisiana and the Department of Corrections. Their main objective was to break my spirit. They did not break me. I have witnessed the horrors of man's cruelty to man. I did not lose my humanity. I bear the scars of beatings, loneliness, isolation, and persecution. I am also marked by every kindness. And this is a poem by Herman Wallace. Maybe my soul is that of concrete. Maybe it is that of the wind. Maybe it is that of fire. Maybe it is the spirit of the people, the spirit of my ancestors. Whatever my keepers wish my soul to be, the man of steel is always free. I have buttons and stickers against solitary confinement torture if anybody wants, just come ask me.
Thank you, Willow. We're just close to the second half of the show. There are going to be a lot of younger artists now. The next four in line are Athena Gam, Chris Sheretz, Carol Lowenstein, and Paul Damon. Athena? Hi. Athena and Eric are the creators of a film called The Bushmen of the Kalahari. And have you been able to get it up? Yeah. Yeah, great. Okay. Yay! Also one of our local Pachamama people.
Hi everyone, I'm Athena Gam, and yes, I'm a filmmaker, a screenwriter, and I also serve the local community with a video production business, helping to promote organizations and also business owners to be able to support local business in that way, using my skills as a filmmaker. And so what I want to talk to you about tonight is, I'm so excited that Moses shared the story that he shared today, thank you, because I'm also talking about the San Kalahari Song Bushman. And I was gifted with the opportunity to be able to go to Botswana, Africa, working with actually a local organization in Santa Cruz that does quite a bit of work with the San Bushman people in order to help support them culturally. The San Bushman people of the Kalahari are indigenous people, and their culture is currently being threatened by colonization and modernization, and a lot of what they're facing as a people is related to the fact that their indigenous knowledge and wisdom is not honored and not seen in the colonizer, Western, Eurocentric thinking world as being of value in terms of, if you look at academia, that's a certain way of thinking. Indigenous wisdom and knowledge is also very highly refined and to the level of being a science, but it's not seen that way by the Western world because we see things from an institutional perspective. Whereas for indigenous people worldwide, and especially the Kalahari San Bushmen, their knowledge is of the land, is earth-based. And so one of the changes that is happening that is positive to support the Bushmen in their cultural preservation is that there's been a move towards some ecotourism. There's been a move towards people wanting to actually learn from this indigenous knowledge that this culture has been in existence for 100,000 years. So they are considered to be the oldest continuous culture of humankind, and they're the most genetically diverse people, coming out of Africa. So the story that we have heard is that at one point the human race was all one coming out of Africa, and one brother went one way, and the other brother stayed in Africa. Those people are the San Bushmen that have continued their cultural practice to this day, and it is currently under threat because, as I said, they're being devalued as a people. The local name for the San Bushman people there is Baswara, which essentially means like worthless, like worth nothing. And so those people are taught from a young age that they are not worth anything by the wider dominant culture. And so one of the most powerful ways, catalysts for change that I believe as a filmmaker, and that many other people embrace, is that story is very powerful. And so when we had the opportunity to visit the Bushmen there in Botswana, the Bushmen actually spoke to us and were sharing their stories. So we were able to, gather a lot of footage as filmmakers, learning from them and spending time just walking through the land and hearing their stories and their embodied wisdom. And they asked us to share their story with the world. So as a filmmaker, I come from the animation industry, used to work with the producer of the Shrek films. And so one of the ways that I was wanting to bring forward their story was through an animated film. And so our film Song of the Kalahari was born. I'm going to show you a clip of that. Before I do that, I wanted to show you a clip of some of the indigenous wisdom. So the Kalahari Desert is one of the most harshest environments in the world. It is a desert, and one of the ways that, one of the values of the people that they're bringing forward, that they're embracing as a people and saying, we do have value, we do have knowledge, see, and wanting the world to know it, is their knowledge of that land. And so I have a little clip that we have from, go ahead and play it. So this is cacao. So cacao is pulling up a root called B. And B is like a kind of a turnip, almost like a jicama. And the thing that's really neat about the Bushmen is, the question is, well, how do you get water in the desert? And this is one of the ways. So they scrape the root. And of course, you know, we came during the rainy season or after the rainy season, so it's actually much greener there. So he's scraping the root, and then he pulls up the meat and squeezes it, and then you have water in the desert. And they, you know, like I said, living that way for 100,000 years. And of course now, the cultural erasure that is happening is due to the fact that they've been pushed out and also no longer are allowed to hunt. And so one positive side of there being a hunting ban in Botswana was to prevent poachers, but the negative side was the fact that there was a lack of understanding that the indigenous people are part of nature, we're part of the land. We're not taking part in poaching, but we're sustainable, taking care of themselves. And so that's one of the messages that we're bringing forward with our animated film Song of the Kalahari, which is essentially just to share their story, how they live their life, and that they have the basic human rights of access to food and water and their hunter-gatherer ways. So I'll go ahead and play the little clip from the animated film. We might be having a little technical.
So this one was stuff like this.
We're trying to get the sound.
We're close, I think. Let's see here.
I can't really.
Okay.
So this stuff like this.
Postcards about the project outside, and if anyone has any questions about that work, I'll be around and would be happy to talk to you about it. But thank you so much for this opportunity to share about the Bushmen and their situation.
Thank you, Fina. And our partner Eric is back there. Eric, raise your hand.
Did you paint?
Yeah.
Yeah, we animated on here.
Okay, Chris Sheretz, who, oh boy, does it all. Chris is filming this. Chris is the sound man. Chris is one of the people at full-time people at Romero Institute, and plays the steel drums, among other things.
I had some songs prepared, but I think to start, I'm just going to doodle around. Not like being held to a rigid structure of a song, you know. Just making noises, so let's see where it goes. We'll see where this one goes to. Always changes.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Tatanka.
Woo! Chris Sherrod. Okay. I'm partial. The next artist is Ms. Carol Lowenstein. I don't know what she's going to do. I'm not sure she knows yet. She has choices. But I get to live with this amazing being, and it's one of the blessings of my life.
Yummy, yum. I was in the back room cutting parts of this.
Use the mic.
So since a lot of you haven't been here before, I read this poem a lot. I'm going to do a couple of poems, but I'm going to, let me see. All right. Things in the works. All right. Some of you have heard this, but I'm going to do it again. Sweet inner life. Between two worlds I hover, cocooning in velvety warm sleepiness, memory mumbling into morning, wafting in the gentle quiet. Sweet inner life, life becoming dream, dream shape-shifting into memory. I linger around the edges of my dream, softly in baby kitten fuzziness, hardly opening my eyes, stretching tender eye beams back to fading scenes, nestling in that cozy place, a little more, warmly, just a teeny more, sweet inner life. Day suggests itself, slipping in between the crevices of my cozy dream space, the true one's flickering form to light, to form, back and forth between two worlds, inner friend, steadfast and true. My heart smiles forward softly, expanding into sun and bird song, slowly, fully, breathing in the morning. was inspired by Moses and Sun Ra. All the stuff started pouring through. I just had an amazing conversation with my daughter, and it just sort of brought it all. How we listen, how we learn wisdom from our children, a little bit of parenting from our children, our youngers. Can we let it in? Deep lessons, and they've been our ancestors, and we've been our own ancestors. Husbands, wives, best friends, parents, children, adversaries, mentors, disruptors. It's a weave. What an evolution, our lives. And now we're here. Now there are children. 2 generations coming up, taking the baton or more, spunking up truth. Spunking up truth in our world, in our room, in our community. Calling in a new vision, walking through the vortex, doorway of a new world. We hold the door open. We follow you through. Ask me. Show me. I'm proud of you. Ask me. I'll do it too. Call me. I'm there for you and there with you. We'll add our experiences, our learnings, entranced by your inspired courage, your love, your willingness to walk together, to work together. Show me. I'm proud of you. Ask me. I'll do it too. Call me. I'm there for you. This has taken so many shapes, it's wild. I'm gonna do it again. How many of you feel that you know that we can manifest a vision into form? How many feel that? Cool. Yeah. This pregnant now, our vision gathering form. Energies clearly felt, elements gathering, atoms swirling, coalescing, vision gathering form. It's the clearly sensed, unseen, creating what we want, what we know, our vision that we hold unwaveringly. I call out to all of us, oh, co-creators, we are called to stand in the power of our beingness, called to our deep intuitive, waiting for us, that intuitive, waiting for us to notice and respond. We are called to stand in the power of our beingness, you and I. We are knowers. With abilities this culture, this world has forgotten, we are called to remember how deeply connected, intimately, intricately woven we are. Oh, flowing, waking dream of revealing, we revel in your revealing chaos, becoming compost to our learning and growing. Messages speaking from our deeper wisdom. Caw, caw. Speaking through our dreams, through raven, eagle, cricket, fly, feathers, trees, redwood grandfather, redwood grandmother, moon, speaking through all that is, through constant daily synchronicities, nothing by accident, this divine orchestration. Messages from everywhere, to see, to hear, to know, occurrences right on time, intersections of how'd this happen? Oh, my answer. Oh, and now is our time. Now we are called. This great mystery is calling us from everywhere, showing us the sacred, the magical interweavings of our lives. We are called from inside to see who we really are, to know it and live it in. Called to stand in the power of our inner knowing. Create now the world we want. Come, unity. Community. Let's come be community. This is our time to step up, step in. Let us see the unseen. Let us know it and live this vision in the now. Our purposeful expression in this pregnant now of quantum goo. Community, come, unity, with every thought we emanated forth. Yes, with every spoken word we empower it forth. Formless to form. We walk it, be it, hold the vision, live it, magnetize it, and coalesce it. Morphic fields responding, vibrating molecules gathering, coalescing form, formless to form, pouring in, pouring our cup to overflowing. Our vision, we welcome you. We dance you into every area of our life. Oh yes, this pregnant now. It's up to us to hold that vision, you know.
Yes.
It's up to us to stand in who we are. As if I had to say that.
Thank you, Carol Lindsay. Okay, Paul Damon, then Hope for Peace, Fernando Leyva, and Ben Eichart, and then Elisa Hava. We're going into the home stretch here. Paul Damon, wow, brother, veteran for peace, holistic veterans, amazing artist, recording artist. Heck, The Last Living Room. You made The Last Living Room for me. And he went in and channeled Moses and everybody else, you know. I mean, I don't know what you were planning to sing, but something else came out. Really a talented man. So, Paul Damon. Take it away.
Gotta dig yourself now free me from these chains that society programmed me. And pull down deeper as we go down deep inferno. Feel the flame on the toes to the knees. Feel the rhythm of the soul in me, calling me, calling me. The echo in the darkness as I fall into your eyes, surrendered with the feelings that reside. Inside I try to surrender to the souls, but there's a devil in me, of course. Refuse the calls, refuse the lines. Angels now fall to the side. Trolls drawn, shields denied. Fight for your life! You come now, son. One more gun. What you gonna do this time? Smile, stand or run? Or feast me before your death, and I shall rise within you. A voice of lions coming forth, and the pride consumes you. Now breathe, children, breathe, for I be the thing that had been sent. Heaven sent, hell bent. Will you rise with me as I climb to the stars? Or will you sit by the wayside and ask how hard? A question may be when your child presents thee. Mama, Daddy, what'd you do for eternity? Would you drop your river into the ocean of life? Become one within yourself and deny nothing that come before your sight. Will you talk to me, O Holy One, for the night? Tonight I will come for you, find the stars in the dark, in the dark, in the dark. Cold mother in the distance, we call Father for repentance, and the contents remain the same. We all come from and bound by the same name. Well, I am love. Nice to meet you. I come from down below and above and through you into California as you face stormy weather and the rain falls. We'll always be thankful that we can wash off the holy day. Come here, holy days, we welcome in. Oh, grandfather, call of a story upon time. Two hearts beat one steady rhyme, and the soul if you had a mind that was shaped by the sharpest steel any man, woman, child could find, would you hold to your truth when you're alone? Well, you know that's just a lie. I'm here with you, been with you, will continue to be the one that guides you through your pain. What's my name? I call to the clouds, I let my name rain down, cover me up now. I found my truth deep within you, shake my bones right on my skin. Where do I begin to repent? Holy wisdom, holy wisdom. When you're gone to the days and the breeze let you say you had a good run, seeing the light in your daughter's eyes next to a sunflower smile, and we all want one. A holy day. A holy day.
Paul Damon, thank you. Hope for peace.
Well, I think she actually took off, so we'll move on, I think.
There's hope here. Okay. May be able to send that out. Fernando Leva. Oh.
Going here.
Okay, he's gonna show some slides and talk from them. Fernando, my friend from Chile, he teaches Latin American studies up at UC, and has an amazing history, has an amazing family, brilliant teacher, researcher, and documenter of what's going on in Chile with extractive industries right now. Thank you for being with us, Fernando.
Good evening, everyone. It's amazing to be here. I feel tremendous reverence for the creative power of those that have preceded me. But I want to share with you this idea that I've been working on for about a year since I came back from Chile and traveled both in the north and south and met with many social environmental movements. And when I came back here to Santa Cruz to UCSC, I was trying to figure out, well, what do I do? How do I respond to what I saw? And the response is this idea that I've been working on of launching this human rights and extractivism action lab. And the goal of the lab is to train students how to partner with those community leaders in the ground that are defending their community in the face of extractivism. And the need for that is because over the last decade, we've seen the rise of this global human rights architecture that's supposed to protect communities, indigenous peoples. There are a number of international human rights frameworks that have been launched. The United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, guidelines for business and human rights, the rights of agricultural workers, a whole set of principles and guidelines, but that basically sound really good in paper, but fail to defend communities and indigenous peoples because of the lack of a way of enforcing these wonderful ideas. There is no way yet of making multinational corporations, multinational extractivist corporations, responsible and accountable. And so the idea of the Human Rights and Extractivism Action Lab is a way of moving a little bit forward in that goal. If you look at the data, the Environmental Justice Atlas, for example, that tracks socio-environmental movements, conflicts. There are about 800 conflicts in the Americas right now, pitting communities against big mining, agro-industrial, hydropower, transnational corporations. Over the past year, 321 human rights and community defenders have been murdered for that work. So we face a number of challenges, right? Two challenges at least. Number one, how do we, from our privileged position here, support those defenders in the ground, those that are in the front line of the communities? And number two, the second challenge, is how do we understand the new ways that capitalist power is operating in our society? And the new strategies that these extractivist corporations are deploying. So these are the two goals of this initiative that I've been working on with some students at UCSC. And we do that in a particular context, a context of a race by these multinational capitalist corporations to control resources, to control the commons, in the context of global climate change, and in the context of US imperial decline. So in that setting is where, I've been trying to figure out what can we do through this, really small initiative that we've launched at UCSC. First thing that we can do, and what we try to do in the lab, is solidarity, active solidarity, and engage in the co-production of knowledge for social transformation. We do that by partnering students with leaders from the local, territorial, socio-environmental organizations, by studying with them these new, more sophisticated strategies that I'm going to talk about. We are working specifically on one case in northern Chile, in the Huasco Valley in the Atacama, which has these two most powerful mining corporations, a Newmont Gold Corp and Tech Resources, trying to set up this 3.4 billion project in this valley. This is the largest undeveloped mining project in the Americas. This is what that valley looks like. This is a valley where communities have resisted Barrick Gold, have resisted other extractivist projects in the past 20 years. It has a very active local community organizations. I was there at a march in March of this year. And what we're seeing is that in the face of these, really active community-based resistance, the mining corporations are developing really sophisticated strategies to be successful. An example is this. Tech Resources publishes at the end of December a full-page ad in all of the Chilean newspapers saying, a new type of mining is coming. And it appropriates the beautiful face of an Andean indigenous women to say, the mining that we're going to be doing is going to be sustainable, it's going to be in partnership with the communities, it's going to respect indigenous rights, it's going to incorporate all these new technologies. So, in addition with, supporting the work of the local human rights and socio-environmental community activists, we need to understand more the nature of these new strategies. And I speak of this new strategy as the fifth head of the neoliberal capitalist hydra. And if you know the Chilean history, you know that Chile is a country where neoliberalism has been in existence for 45 years. It's the first country where neoliberalism, the neoliberal system of domination, was put in place. It's the one where neoliberalism has lasted the longest. It's been the most, powerful and consistent. Everything is privatized in Chile. And what we have seen is like different power strategies unfolding. The first one, how neoliberalism was set up was through state terrorism. And today we see the sicariato, the hiring of assassins to kill community leaders. That's also unfolding. After 1990, we saw cooptation. We've seen, market-based pedagogies of cruelty. If you want to go to school, you have to go in debt. If you want to have health care, you have to go in debt. If you want to do anything, you have to go in debt. And if you don't have the money, and the majority of the people don't have the money, you face and you learn how cruel the market is. And that transforms people's subjectivities. It transforms people's ways of relating to one another. It transforms people's ways of imagining what's possible. The fourth one, the elite capture of the state, the corruption of the democratic process by money. But what we're seeing in the Huasco Valley is the fifth new strategy. And that's, this deployment of this very sophisticated discourse of territorial dialogue, of participation, of collaborative territorial agreements, which are just much more sophisticated ways in which these multinational extractivist corporations try to achieve their goals. So, through the Human Rights and Extractivism Action Lab, we're digging deeper into this, but what is always at the bottom, and with this I end, is individuals, is courageous members of the community, many times of them women. And I was, really fortunate of meeting this indigenous woman, Amalia Alcayaga, who for 20 years has been fighting to prevent her land from being taken over by Barrick Gold and other multinational corporations. And here, and I don't have time to show you the video, she's facing off with the political authorities, with the police, with a caravan of state representatives, of legal representatives, to trying to take over her land. So in many cases, it's this one courageous individual, many times a woman, who stands as the barrier to the destruction of our Mother Earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fernando. I want to partner with that, right? He was talking about how the COP conference, the UN, where everybody floods for the climate change stuff that's happened in Chile in November, December, and how now all the extractive corporations are demanding to be partners at the table to talk about solutions. Of course, one of the solutions won't be, if they're at the table, that they don't get to have their way, right? They'll be working on how to ameliorate them going ahead with taking it out of the ground and all that damage that caused. Very sophisticated, a lot of money. I said the local thing it reminded me of is, and Ben could talk about this, the one good thing that happened in the last presidential election was that fracking initiative that passed, that Romero was very active in going door to door to make sure that fracking was banned. The oil companies here in Monterey County spend, $5-6 million, and we had 250,000 with a little grassroots group, and we won. But I was at a meeting after at Watsonville City Council with some Latino friends, and then we sat down for dinner, and one woman said, "My best friend is now is on Shell or Exxon's payroll, and they're talking about how they have clean fracking." Someone said, "Yeah, my best friend's taking their money too." It's like they get You know, they've got a lot of money, they've got a lot of sophistication to, you know, try to get the best and the brightest on their side. So thank you, Fernando, for your work. All right, Dan Eichhardt, and next up will be Elisa Hava and then Sean Smolinski. Ben is, wow, what can I say? An amazing strategist, political strategist, really key to Romero's work, and he's going to update us because Danny and Sarah and Danny Paul can't be with us, and he is more than capable of doing that. So take your time, Ben.
All right, thanks, Tatanka. Yeah. Hey everyone. So my name is Benjamin. I work with the Romero Institute, which is the organization that the proceeds from these Tatanka Living Room events end up going to support. So the Romero Institute is an interfaith law and public policy center based here in Santa Cruz. We're a nonprofit organization. And, thanks. I would say that our mission is to expose injustice and to work in alliance with communities who suffer from injustice to build people-powered solutions to those problems. Most of the work that we do is sort of done under the banner of a couple of different projects. The oldest and sort of flagship project that we have is called the Lakota People's Law Project. And since 2005, we've been working with the Lakota tribes in North and South Dakota across a range of issues. And it's interesting, the word Lakota actually means ally. And so I think the right way to look at the way that we do the work that we do is, Fernando sort of touched on this, right? It's active. Being an ally is something active that you do. It's not just standing behind someone, it's really standing by their side, it's standing with them. And I like to think of it as creating space. So, and that's an active process. So an ally creates space by doing a variety of things, right? And so sometimes we hold back the forces of opposition in order to create space for the Lakota to lead. Sometimes we create and build a megaphone to create space for the Lakota to speak. Sometimes we bring more friends into the circle to create space for them to thrive. And I want to talk to you, Daniel Paul, my colleague who's in South Dakota right now, sent me a quick update that I'll let you know a few of the things that we've been working on. So you may have heard a couple of months ago about that there was a bomb cyclone that hit the Midwest. And the Pine Ridge Reservation, which is in the southern part of South Dakota by the Badlands, it was just immeasurable damage was done to the reservation. So as soon as that happened, we sent a team out, Daniel Paul among them and some others. And we jumped right into the mix. And among other things, we helped secure funding and put together a grant writing team, and we put together a team that included a FEMA expert so that we were able to get all of the necessary paperwork and applications and sort of logistical things done. And some of the good news is that FEMA just announced, I think, only a few days ago, that they are going to begin providing assistance to repair individual homes. So that's great. There's more work to be done. We're trying to secure additional funding from FEMA, and we actually are going to be launching a campaign tomorrow to get people to be emailing the White House. There's an additional sort of disaster designation that needs to take place that will then open up additional millions of dollars in aid to them. And historically, the tribes are almost always shortchanged, right, when it comes to aid around these types of things. Additionally, and sort of as a result of that, the governor of South Dakota showed up at the reservation at Pine Ridge, probably for a photo op or something. And immediately the tribe basically kicked her off the reservation and ended up passing a resolution that banned her from ever coming onto the reservation until she withdraws her support for a series of laws that she has implemented. It's called riot boosting laws, and those laws are meant to criminalize protest of pipelines and fossil fuel projects. And a lot of the work that we did in the more recent past with the Lakota was at Standing Rock during the fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline. And they're trying right now, using paid off politicians, right? Like the legislature, governor of South Dakota, to pass laws that can stop that sort of protest, to stop that sort of fight before it ever happens. So we worked with the tribe to put together a resolution preventing the governor from coming, and what that ended up leading to was an invitation from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to come meet with her about our opposition to Riot Boosting, about our opposition to the KXL pipeline, and about the work that we were doing there around the cyclone. So that happened just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, if you go to lakotalaw.org, which is the website for that project, you'll see we've got, we created Chris, he's sitting right in the back, he plays steel drums very well. Chris is our videographer and video editor extraordinaire. He put together a really great piece from some of the footage that we shot in DC. A great piece that really conveys, I think, some of the energy from that meeting, which was really great and really historic, her meeting with the leaders of those tribes. So that's sort of the quick update on what's immediately been happening with Lakota, and going forward, I know that I can't tell you everything, we don't know everything that's going to be happening. You know, we need to respond to urgent issues as they arise, but we are putting a lot of our focus on how to build a longer-term strategy to stop the KXL pipeline from being built. The tribes will play a very important role in that. Pine Ridge and Cheyenne River, especially those two reservations, the pipeline is going to basically run right through them, right next to them. The other project that the Ramirez Institute has is called Green Power, and I'm the director of the Green Power Project. And the way I usually talk about our work is like this. You know, when it comes to climate change, the science is clear, the technology is here to do something about it, but what we're missing is the political will. And so Green Power aims to build the political will to enact climate change solutions. And you know, just a quick rundown, Tatanka touched on some of it. We helped run a field campaign for Measure Z in Monterey County, which implemented a countywide ban on fracking. We helped do a lot of grassroots organizing and public education in the Salinas Valley and San Benito Valley to expand the reach and more than double the size of Monterey Bay Community Power, our clean energy program in this region, which is now providing people with 100% carbon-free energy. And a number of other things. We worked to create a strong community component of that program, to build a community advisory council that includes farm workers and low-income customers and labor representatives and workers, so that there's really a truly engaged community and a diversity of voices involved in the process. Now what we're working on going forward are a couple of things. One, which is really cool, we're going to be putting out a film about this one very soon, is we've been working in San Benito County with a nonprofit health center called the San Benito Health Foundation that serves the low-income farm working community down there. And their executive director is from Puerto Rico, and she was in Puerto Rico after the hurricane, and she came back from that experience and she said, you know, this should never happen. I can never let this happen to the community that we serve, you know, where there was no water, there was no electricity, there were no resources. So just as she sort of had this idea in her mind, we were making a presentation at a meeting down in San Benito where we talked about some of the work that we do around renewable energy and efficiency. She got excited and we talked, and what we're doing there is creating only the second healthcare microgrid in the entire state of California. So we're putting on solar panels, the most state-of-the-art HVAC and LED light bulbs that exist, and tying it all in through an emergency backup battery, creating electric vehicle chargers, so that no matter what happens in the event of the most sort of catastrophic disaster you can think of, this health center that serves the low-income community will be a space where people can come to receive care, to receive service, because their lights will be on. And even if it's so bad that gas trucks can't get to the local gas stations, they'll have electric vehicles that they can charge at those electric vehicle chargers, being charged off of the solar panels so they can go into the community to deliver medication and to deliver service. So that's a really cool project. And it's important because the climate crisis that we're facing is going to demand that more and more we prepare for these types of situations. And so, you know, preparation for those types of things is very important. On the other hand, the other thing that we need to do is we need to try to stave off the climate disaster for as long as possible. And we need to do those things that can have a high impact in terms of bringing down carbon emissions. And so that's the other sort of component of Green Power's work that we were doing with the Community Choice Energy. And what we're really working on right now is focusing on building a Green New Deal for California. And the way we see that happening is coming up from cities, from counties, and from regions. And I don't have all this committed to memory, so I just want to read you a couple of things. You know that we're dealing with an administration right now that doesn't even recognize the climate crisis that we're facing. But there's actually good news and there's reason for optimism, because at the state and subnational level of the state and cities, there's some incredible things happening. New York City passed an ordinance to dramatically cut emissions from buildings. Chicago has mandated that they become 100% renewable by 2035. Boise, Idaho, 100% renewable by 2035. Missoula, Montana, 100% renewable by 2030. Cincinnati, 100% renewable by 2035. I mean, Boise, Missoula, Cincinnati, right? These are not cities that I would have expected were going to be at the cutting edge of the renewable energy revolution. But it's happening, and it's also San Luis Obispo has set a goal of being completely carbon neutral by 2035. And they're engaged in a process that's really involving the community in that. And so what we're working on, and in fact, we've got a meeting this coming weekend with a number of elected officials from throughout the region, is we're talking about how can we set those types of goals for this region? How can we get our cities and our counties mobilized to begin putting into place laws and pathways that are going to get us to that same place? And allies that we've worked with in San Diego are in the process of doing the same thing. So we see this sort of bubbling up through cities, counties, regions, and ultimately to the state of California, which is already at the forefront of climate, but there's much more that can be done and must be done. So that's the work that we're doing, and what I would say is that when you donate to Tatanka's Living Room or directly to the Romero Institute, you become an ally with the Lakota, you become an ally with the planet, you create the space for this work to happen that we're doing. So thank you very much.
Now you can understand why every Tatanka's Living Room in the past 5 years goes to support that. It's just the most brilliant, sophisticated, effective way to leverage a dollar bill. So rethink whatever you put in the basket as you go out, because we have costs for that room, for this room, and then what is left over goes to Romero. Next up. Okay. Next up, oh yes, first time at the living room, there have been many, Eliza Hava. Eliza, I've heard sing 3 times. Each time I'm just blown away. Tried to get her at one of the last rooms, it didn't work out. This will be the first of, I hope, several living rooms that we will have her with us. She's a real gift, and I won't say any more, I just want you to hear her. So thank you for being here, Eliza.
Hi, everybody.
Sound for your guitar.
I do, yes.
Let's see.
We'll make it work.
That was very inspiring to hear about the Romero Institute. I've been following your work over the years with Lakota Low People's Project, and find it very powerful. I'm originally from New York, and I used to be very active in my local community in New Paltz. And a lot of the songs that I've written over the years have been informed by my community work and different things that I have, projects that I've been involved with over the years. So I'm going to share some of these tunes with you and tell a little story about each one of them. So I figured it'd be appropriate to start with the song that my husband and I wrote with some friends to respond to the fracking, anti-fracking movement. And we heard this song rising up through the earth and eventually released it in support of Standing Rock, the music video. So this is called Water to Fire.
Mother was kind, she gave the world to us, fed us her milk and gave us her trust. We tore our skin and bled her with desire. Broken within, we turned water to fire. Water to fire. Water to fire. Water to fire. We took a land and cut down her trees, poisoned the water and spread our disease. And through it all, she begged us to retire. Her voice on her turned water to fire. Water to fire. Water to fire. Water to fire. How long will this go on? It's been far too long. How long until we see we create our destiny? Water to fire. Water to fire. We stand in time with a choice to make, no turning back, no room for more mistakes. We've heard the call, it's our time to rise, see the truth, wipe the lies from our eyes. Water to fire. Water to fire. To all the sons and daughters, let's turn our fire back into water. Water to fire.
There's a video on YouTube for that song if you're interested in checking it out. And before I moved here, I was very involved with student activism and, as I mentioned before, some activism in my community, which eventually led to working with the United Nations and the International Day of Peace. And for several years, I got to know the community at the UN and see all the work that people were doing to promote peace and social change, and music became a very big part of that. So this song has been shared at the UN on the International Day of Peace, different peace gatherings around the world, so I hope you like it. My brother's been shot down, my sister's been battered and used, my child has been handed a gun, mother's been raped and abused, daddy's got one foot in the grave, he's still crying over someone he couldn't save. I'm watching all this pain and you would say it's just a game. We will rise now, stand upright, we will burn like candles in the night. We will learn to sing, not to fight unless it's for freedom, right? We will hold each other's hands, try hard to understand. Liberties are demand. We are one people, one land. Some live a life of illusion, not knowing of another solution. We're breathing the deadly pollution. Oh, you know, it's a shame. We will rise and stand upright. We will burn like candles in the night. We will learn to sing, not to fight unless it's for freedom, right? We will hold each other's hands, try hard to understand. Liberties are demand. We are one people, one land. Oh, one people, people. We must break these chains of gold. We've been slaves enslaved, we've been sold. All the lies we've been told. If we keep moving along, we will sing a new song. We will rise and stand upright. We will burn like candles in the night. We will learn to sing, not to fight unless it's for freedom, right? We will hold each other's hands, try hard to understand. Liberties are demand. We are one people, one land. One people, one soul. One people, one people, one soul. We will rise. Thank you. Thank you very much. When I was a little girl, I learned about Martin Luther King in my choir class in the 5th grade. And my choir teacher was teaching us all about the Civil Rights Movement. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was so into it. I was like 10. And he was teaching us about sit-ins and protests. And I was like, wow. And then we did a play, and we had to like enact a protest and sit in, all these little kids. Anyway, they fired him shortly after that. So I led a protest outside the principal's office. And all my music class to do a sit-in and refused to go to class, and it didn't work. But yeah, I had it in me from a very young age. My form of protest these days is music. But this is a song I wrote about Dr. King. Years later, I was asked to compose a song to teach high school students about his life and his legacy. And this is the song. Martin Luther King was a preacher man. He fought the system and the Ku Klux Klan. Served his time down in Birmingham. Fighting all his life, he never raised a hand. August 28, 1963, he said, I have a dream for equality, for brotherhood and justice for you and me. This ain't a Jim Crow society. The civil rights movement was a time of revolution. Open up our minds to conscious evolution. We can pave a way to a common solution. Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. Dr. King lived a life of meaning. He wanted to prove it wasn't only dreaming. He'd come for those who'd gone astray, to teach there's a better way. To let the golden rule be the rule of thumb, to love each other everywhere. We can win the war on hate before we find it's too late. Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. Dr. Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had a dream. He said unity is the great need of the hour. So when we come together, we will surely have the power. Unity is the great need of the hour. When we come together, we'll surely have the power. Now, there's a long road ahead, we got work to do. For all oppressed people, Muslim or Jew, rich or black or white, we need to walk a path to light. Coretta Scott King was his foundation, a loving wife who helped her man rock the nation. Dr. Martin Luther King. He came to heal. The doctor came to heal. He came to heal the world. want to share this special song and tell a little bit of a story about it. My grandparents on both sides survived the Holocaust. And they survived by escaping. And they each have these miraculous stories of how they got out of the concentration camps. And one of my grandmothers who just passed away a couple weeks ago, she told me once upon a time that when she was in the camps, the slave labor camps, her bunkmates would try and get her to sing for them in the middle of the night because they were just really sad and down and they couldn't sleep and they were hungry, and she was like, I don't want to sing, I don't feel like singing. And she had such a beautiful voice. I never heard her sing, but this is what she shared with me, that people would save their food to give to her in the middle of the night to encourage her to sing, so she would have the strength to sing for them. And that just blew my mind, blew my heart wide open. And so I dedicated my first record to her because I felt like that's where I inherited my gift. My father's a singer, but he never sings. So I know that it came from her. And anyway, so years later, I was living in Jerusalem, and I produced a concert with Israeli and Palestinian musicians for peace of all different faiths. So we had Muslims, Christians, and Jews, and we did a live stream concert all over the world that connected with other concerts. And this was a prayer song. What was so beautiful about this was that we had people of all these different religions singing together, because singing and music is the most powerful form of prayer. And I actually didn't know that the Remembrance too was an interfaith group. That was a new thing to learn, so that's pretty cool. This was an interfaith project, and this was one of the songs that we did.
You are the keeper of my soul. You have placed in me. You've made me whole. I am the keeper of the truth you have placed in me. I praise you.
placed in me. You've made me whole. I am the keeper of the truth you have placed in me. I pray to.
Star ancestors. Thank you, Tatanka.
Thank you, Lisa. We just have 3 short performers. Sean Smolinski, with about 4 minutes of drum. Greg is Gregory M. Speed here, senior? Great. He's got a poem, and then Isaac Collins will close it up with his spoken word. And we'll sing Ateneo together.
Yeah.
All right. Take it away. What do you need? Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Wow. What an evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. So stoked to hear all of these amazing things that people are doing. The art and the, can you hear me?
Well, bit.
Yeah, the art, the music, the film, just that which inspires us to, I think almost importantly, to take action right now. And I just noticed the resonance of some things throughout the evening. One of those ideas that's kind of come up throughout the night is this idea of our ancestors and weaving our lives and even our children's lives. The idea that you said about our children are our ancestors, that we are our own ancestors, that we're finding this guidance, is always here for us. So I just think it's beautiful. I don't usually do this type of thing. I usually am playing in my home or playing with Paul. I also play, I'm really fortunate to get to play with Paul Damon frequently. So look for us when we're out and about in the community playing, please. And I'll just tap for another little second. Yeah.
That's Mr. Sean Smolinski. Look for him with Paul Damon out in the community. Okay, Gregory M. Speed Sr. I met Gregory, I was sitting at a bench outside Loudon Nelson, and his sister, he came by and spoke with her and handed her a pamphlet, and he had a poem in there, and I said, let me see that poem. And I saw the poem, I said, you gotta come read this. So, welcome, first time to the living room, right?
Yes, sir.
Woo! All right. Stationary mic? Okay.
Tatanka, thank you for inviting me to your living room.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna read something that's not in that book real quick, because I feel that it's pertinent to the moment. Happy Juneteenth. Yeah, this was, I also read at the festival, so here goes. It's called Passage, Resilience. As the dank, dark, tormented, overfilled underbelly of the ship echoed with sounds of ancestors, the imminent darkness cried out as bodies old and young withered, their spirits torn and tethered together. No calm recollection of tomorrows will arise, only the cold, stark reality of today. With a terrifying sense of being lost, being held captive by the overseers, faced with an uncertain reality, either adapt or die trying, survive or be crushed by the weight of oppression, beings both bound and chained, their memories of freedoms past, lingering inside of their confused minds, obviously thinking, how did we get here? How will we get ourselves out of this? And what does the future hold? Yesterday is gone, and we're all caught in the loop. Tomorrow is on the way, as another one bites the dust. This one is dedicated to all of those who didn't make it, to see the dry land again, the lands that they were taken from, the lands that they were being taken to, brown bodies stolen from home, taken from the motherland, torn from a mother's arms. This one is dedicated to the God that they created. Why hast thou forsaken us? Ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. So I had the privilege to submit a poem for the Radical Zine for the Resource Center. And I was honored to be accepted. And here goes. The poem is titled The Wall. If these walls could talk, they'd ask questions like, are we really the land of the free? And if so, why have we caged ourselves in? Exactly what are we afraid of if we're the one most powerful nation? If these walls could talk, they'd scream with woe, words like desperation, at America's newest form of forced segregation and separation, a desperate attempt at mind control, therefore a representation of superiority with the steel bars of shame, as shameful cages and fences are being built, and it's not make-believe. Steel bars all reinforced, separating us from them. But the question still persists. Who are they that we are separating ourselves from? Don't they know that walls can be overcome? Don't they know that all walls will eventually crumble? How can we be free while living our lives boxed inside of these useless categories? If these walls could talk, would they even ask or answer these questions? The wall. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great speed, Senior. All right, Lyrical Eye.
Yes.
Isaac Collins. I always ask Isaac, pretty much always, to go last, because he just embodies what we've gone through. This is the last performer for the night, and then we will drum together Aha Tene. Welcome again. Welcome back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's good to be here, like my 5th time. I actually just released my first poem published in the Radical Zine too. And it's like been 13 years coming now. Community magazine. I don't know why it took me so long, but I think consistency and patience pays off. So I'm gonna read that poem, and then I'm gonna read another poem for you. And then, yeah. So we're gonna do it like this. It's called They're Killing Us. In honor of Juneteenth, I think it's a very important piece to read today. So in honor of my ancestors. They are killing us. When we try to do positive in our communities and invest back to where we came from, we are killing us. We can't come together to support ourselves. They're killing us. When we can't come together or solve our problems of being black in America. They're killing us when they take our rights away and make us just slaves for minimum wage. So we can't be of service to our own local communities anymore. We are killing us when we don't pay attention to one another and our struggles of hard times. They're killing us with drugs and prisons. They don't want us to own our own destiny or our ways of living. We are killing us when we're on our cell phones all the time, but never using eye contact to communicate. They're killing us because our lives don't matter enough to have a fair trial or justice that is real. We are killing us because we're not working together to rise everyone up. They're killing us with fast food, liquor stores, and lack of opportunities in the places we're living in. We're killing us with Facebook posts, Instagram posts. We're not out there making real change we're not making real change to better our surroundings. They're killing us, and they're gonna keep on doing it until we wake up and see it for ourselves. We're killing us if we don't see the truth in our hearts. This is a new poem. I probably never read it here, but I read it open mic, so it's called Poets Need Love, because we do. So here we go. Poets need love too, to survive and thrive. In this world we write, and the things come out of our soul, and we release our inner feelings and our emotions in the ways we are living. Poets need love too, because without us, our ways of communications will fall with cell phones and texts, and there will be no one writing in notebooks or journals, and that won't even be irrelevant enough. Poets need love too, when our system tries to control us, when they tell us what to think, or take our rights away, or our ways of living. Poets need love too. It's our freedom of expression to do what we love to do. Poets need love too. So poets get together at open mics, coffee shops, street corner, or maybe a museum of art history on every Monday to release their thoughts from their minds that become their lifelines. Poets need love too. So we keep it true. We're straight to the point. We don't sugarcoat anything. We don't sugarcoat anything. Our struggles in pain and anger are our rage, living in cages, living life day to day to survive in this rat race that put us in mental stages of depression. Poets need love too, but we'll always be here, speaking words from our hearts, and our words become our stars of life stages. Poets need love too. Poets need love too. Poets need love too. I always going to do something off the top. I love my writtens, but I love freestyling too. I think they're both great, so I'll have some fun with your song. If they talked about reparations, well, I hope they start talking about reparations. I hope they start honoring us when they set us free in 1865. See, they never really set me free. See, my ancestors were in prisons, and they still are in prisons. But we don't talk about my ancestors, so I wonder if they talk about reparations a little bit more. They say it's about different races, but wait a minute, we all just want what we want entitled. We're tired of not being alive. We're tired of being shot down. We're tired of not having our voices be heard. They don't talk about us enough, so they pretend like we don't exist. But in Santa Cruz, we exist like Loudon Nelson. Wait a minute, we exist like Loudon Nelson. We've been here for many years, but I wonder if they're gonna support us in putting more black businesses in Santa Cruz. When you talk about reparations, to me, it's not about putting money into our pockets. It's about getting us out of the mental slavery and mental chains, and they say, well, that's not your problem. Racism don't exist. Well, if you look me into my eyes and say they don't exist, see, when I wake up every morning, I hope I don't get pulled over from cops. When I wake up every morning, I hope I don't get pulled over from cops. When I wake up every morning, I hope they look at me as a human being. But I'm tired of kissing ass just to live my dreams. If you tell me reparations don't exist, then you don't know what it's like to be black every single day of your life. Wake up every single morning and they say you have to talk white just to make money. Wait a minute, you have to talk white just to make money? But that don't make no sense to me, so I'm gonna be myself. If you tell me reparations is not good for our community, how about you walk into my community and wonder if there's a community, because there is no thing as community, because they're raising the rent and they're moving us out of our community. Eventually, we won't even have no community. Eventually, you might see us on the streets selling drugs, but I know we're more intelligent than that, so I give my brothers hugs, and I tell them we don't have to be thugs or gangsters. We just need to invest our money back into our community so we can be gangsters. But if they tell me reparations is not gonna happen, well, I hope it does happen, because I don't wanna see another kid that don't make it to 21. I don't wanna see another kid working minimum wage jobs when if they can be supported by their community, then reparations is real to me. But if you tell me reparations don't exist, then you're just another statistic that don't exist to my existence. Thank you.
Yeah. Isaac Collins, clear the flag. Okay. You can sit, you can stand. This is traditionally, I get this mic up?
Nope. That mic. There you go.
Okay. I learned this in North Idaho from a Lakota brother, but it's an Iroquois song called Aha Teneho. Some of you know it. Aha Tene.
Find the root.
How's it start? Tell me. Ah, Taneo. Ah, Taneo. Ah, Taneo. Ah, Taneo. Now the Mother Earth and the Father Sky, reaching, touching one another, helpmates ever they. Ah, Taneo, ah, Taneo, ah, Taneo, ah, Taneo.
beautiful. All is beautiful. All is beautiful indeed. In me. Ateneo, 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 Now the mother, now the father sky. Now the father sky and the mother earth reaching, touching one another, helpmates, helpmates ever they. Ateneo, 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 all is beautiful. All is beautiful. All is beautiful. All is beautiful indeed. In me. Ateneo. Ateneo, 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 Amen. Thank you for being here at the living room. Go with spirit. See you in the third week of September.